Hey everybody, it's me, Babooni. Yeah, remember me? The monkey YouTuber? Well, it's me. I'm back. I'm here with the video, and you may be wondering why no video recently. Well, I have a very good reason for all that. Because I was at Northwest Regionals, baby, this last week. I've been up in Washington out of my normal California spot, and so that obviously has disrupted my video making capacity. And also been focusing a lot on just the tournament prep and stuff. But now the tournament's over, I wanted to give you guys a little recap about what happened, what went down, what it was like, how I did, just kind of fill you guys in on all that happened with the Northwest Regionals that happened here up in Oregon a couple of days ago. So I'm at my brother's house right now, and I brought my entire collection of redemption cards. Basically, I own one copy of all rotation cards, so that's a lot to work with. My brother owns a couple of redemption cards. He has a decent collection as well, and so we were focusing. First, we were focusing on building. I kind of already knew what teams deck I was going to do because I'd been playing and testing it on Lackey a lot. But my brother, he had no idea what he was going to do. Let me preface that he did have some idea what he wanted to do, but he'd never actually like built the deck and tested it out. So what I did was I looked at the latest Lackey Grand Prix deck list, and I proxied up Honeypot, proxied up Soul Surfer, proxied up a Disciple Nazareth deck. And once my brother had built his deck, I sat down and piloted the Nazareth deck, the Disciple deck, the Soul Surfer, and I played him against his deck, and it was brutal. Like his deck was just really having a hard time there. He was wanting to do a strategy that involved the Kings of Judah and stuff, but the other decks were just kind of using all the Gospel of Christ cards just to power through his offense and his defense. But it was a good learning experience. Kind of helped him move his direct deck in the right direction and figure out which cards were working, which cards weren't working. At the end of the day, he still wanted to go with his Kings of Judah deck with a few tweaks. And so once we kind of had locked in our Type 1 deck list choices, which I'll get to my choice when we start talking about the T1 portion of the event, then we needed to focus on teams, because the way our schedule worked, we would only be able to make the teams part, the Type 1 part, and the booster part. So no Type 2 for us, no sealed for us, unfortunately. And both of us never had played teams before. Both of us didn't know what to expect. Like I just messaged Augur the Wise a couple of minutes or a couple of days before the tournament. I was like, hey, like, what do we do in teams? Any tips? We had to go try and find the team's deck building rules, and it was really hard to find those. But if you're ever looking for them, they're in the deck building rules of the official deck building rules. But basically, teams, for those who don't know, it's you get to pair up with a player, and between both of your decks, you can only have one unique dominant and one unique lost soul. But kind of aside from that, it's fair game. And also, teams is kind of unique because you share the same land of bondage between both of you, and you share the same fortresses, and you share the same dominance. So, for example, if you have a Three Woes down in your territory, you can choose an upkeep trigger, and then your teammate can also choose an upkeep trigger when it's their turn. So, given that kind of general idea, me and my brother started to sit down. He was looking at all the cards that said each opponent, because obviously, if you have a card that says each opponent, that's going to be more impactful than a card that says an opponent. And so he stumbled across Ashkelon, which we had both seen the Jaden's video about the combo deck with Ashkelon. Basically, Ashkelon is this site that allows you to discard a card from each opponent's hand if you can manage to put an OT Lost Soul in there. And Jaden had kind of innovated where if you had a fortress that could hold captured characters, you could put the characters in the fortress into Ashkelon, into fortress, into Ashkelon, do that 4 times to make the opponent discard 4 cards. And he was focused on the Lackey Grand Prix and trying to do that in the Lackey Grand Prix there and making his single opponent discard 4 cards as fast as possible, trying to really do it on turn 1, shut them out of the game pretty early. But so Andy found Ashkelon, my brother Andy, and he's like, wait a second, could this work in teams? And while it's true we don't share the site in teams, we each have to have our own Ashkelon if we wanted it to work. We could share some of the overlap. If we had one evil fortress and we each had an Ashkelon, then we could both do the combo when it was our turn. So I was like, okay, that has a lot of potential, but I don't know where to start. Well, obviously I have Jaden's deck list, and we only have one copy of each rotation card, so it's not like I can take Jaden's deck and just copy it twice because we're missing a lot of the important cards. So we started mousing through my brother's cards, and yeah, it was just like he had some patriarchs, he had some Philistines, he had some stuff, but a lot of the important pieces that got gone out, like the territory class where he's like get a city out, like we didn't have those. So the first deck list we settled on was pretty easy. It was just a modified, slightly modified version of Jaden's deck list with a couple changes. Number one, we moved Shipwreck to the other deck and put Mayhem in this deck, just so we could try and get the combo off turn one as quickly as possible. And Mayhem is kind of awkward if you're discarding the opponent's entire hand, because if you've played Mayhem after you've done it, you're actually giving them cards. But so Mayhem's really good early game, really bad late game. Let's see, what else do we add? Oh, we added Damascus. It says if an opponent searches their deck, you may draw a card. And so if I put a Damascus down and one of the opponents searches their deck, me and my brother, we both get a trigger. And so this Damascus really helped us out. And also added a Babel. Just like having these really broad effects that do stuff is really nice. So X equals number of opponents, good and evil brigades. It negated opponents' characters with toughness X or less. So it's really like blanket thing that you put down, you set it and forget it. It's one fortress that impacts 2 players worth of stuff. So, and my brother gets to share this with me, so that's nice. Also added some enhancements to make this deck a little bit better at attacking, like a bit of Obedience of Noah is nice. I liked having Jacob having actually something decent to get, and I wasn't happy with Jacob giving Covenant of Noah as the battle winner because the other deck was ending up playing Goshen, which would toss this. So yeah, if you want to learn more about this Ashkelon deck, please go watch Jaden's video. He did a really good job of explaining that. Ended up cutting Raiders Camp, putting in Alexandrian Ship because it said holds any number of captured humans, whereas Raiders Camp says holds any number of captured heroes. So Alexandrian Ship felt a little bit more general because both of our decks were using stocks. And if we capture an evil character, we wanted to have that flexibility of being able to use either Alexandrian Ship or Fortress. I know Raiders Camp is a evil character, which you can get with Darkness, but you know that sometimes comes up, I guess. And so I get why you'd want Raider Camp over Alexandrian Ship. I guess the other reason would be you can use Avenge to take the OT Fortress from your deck. So that's another reason why you'd want Philistine Garrison in. So, you know, maybe that was a bad idea doing Alexandrian Ship, but I'm just letting you know why I did what I did. Okay, yeah, and for the second deck that we played, it was a little bit more difficult to land on a deck list based upon the cards we were working with. And so we ended up using a Patriarch offense with a Philistine defense. The nice thing about the Patriarchs is they can all band to each other. So if I have an Abraham out, all my brother needs to start doing is using his Judah or his Joseph or whatever. I don't know exactly what the last list is we settled on. It was using some Patriarchs. Both of us were using Patriarchs. We're using this Abraham. I didn't really like the other Abraham, the Convert to Meek one. I'd rather have the strong attacks with this Abraham and 3 visitors. And so that came up a lot, where we would band to each other's Patriarchs and get really strong attacks every turn. Also having Goshen out, we both share Goshen. Getting to toss multi-brigade enhancements is nice. And this deck didn't really have ways to get Ashkelon out, but it did have ways to just put Ashkelon down, use my fortresses that had the captured characters in it, and just combo off 2 when it needed to. If the opponent was attacking you with Matthew, you could block with Herdsman, draw a bunch of cards, and then hopefully on your turn, get your Ashkelon and put it down and start making the opponent discard all their cards. Another card we liked was Captured Arc, which said negate and underdeck an artifact controlled by each opponent. So if the opponents both had artifacts up, you could just do 1 activation and just set both of them behind, which is really nice. We only had 1 copy of Goliath, so this deck got the copy. It could get out the most consistently, but if I had to change anything, I'd definitely be adding a Goliath to the other deck as well. Shield's really cool in teams because you both share Shield, meaning that if you have Unity and somebody searches, you get to underdeck 2 Lost Souls. Another thing that we definitely do differently is add Benjamin back to the offense here. We didn't think Soulhide was going to be a problem given how many lost souls were in play, because your opponent's drawing lost souls and they have another opponent. So in theory, kind of doubles the chance of lost souls being out. So we kind of reason like, hey, we don't need Hopper, we don't need Benjamin, because who's going to play Soulhide in teams, you know? We kind of dismiss Soulhide as not even being a viable strategy, which kind of almost cost us later on in the tournament. But another cool thing we did, we reasoned is like, okay, so if Ashkelon is making them discard everything, they're very incentivized to play things down. And Devouring Philistines is really good at tearing up their territory if they've done everything down. And here's the cool combo. So you play Love, which heals and converts your character, so you can heal evil characters dying or whatever. I don't know exactly when you can do Love. Like, does the Devouring Philistines need to die in order to do this, or can you just put it down, play Love, and then attack? I'm not sure how this exactly works. Message him on Discord if you're wondering how the Love combo works, which I probably will. Anyways, you have Love on your Devouring Philistines and you attack. You can discard a card in a territory, then force each opponent to discard X cards, where X is the number of brigades in battle. So X would be like, what, 8 or something? So even if they are playing around Ashkelon, you have a way to just totally just come out of nowhere and just wreck them. So that was cute. Both of us were playing Satan's Seat because we wanted hand protection to just not be a thing. We knew Storehouse was going to be really powerful in this format, and we expected one or at least both, maybe even both players to run Storehouse of the opponents. And that would totally shut off our Ashkelon plan. So both of us thought Satan's Seat would be such a great idea and so important that we needed 2 of them. So yeah, this is the deck that was better at attacking and blocking than the Ashkelon speed deck, and it worked out okay. So we did some playtesting, and in the playtest games that we did, this Turbo Ashkelon deck wasn't able to get it off turn 1. It could get it off turn 2 pretty consistently, and we didn't know if that was going to be a big deal or not. But we show up to teams, and on the way there, we're trying to get the decks together. You know, trying to get the sleeves. I'm sleeving cards in the car, in my lap, typing up the deck list, trying to get that sent in. So, you know, like it feels like we're scrambling. But it was a 4-hour card ride, so we had plenty of time just to get everything exactly how we needed it. And the tournament was kind of at an Airbnb, so this was kind of the vibe. They had some tables set up. People were sitting down at the tables. We were late to the tournament because so we were only able to go to the the second half of the tournament. So it was already kind of in full swing by the time we got there. But when we got there, they kind of had this set up. They had multiple tables, and like to the left of this picture, there was another hallway where they set up more tables. And so when we got there, they started teams. And here is my setup. I had the Baboony Tim playmat with the Baboony Tim sleeves, and it was beautiful. This was nice. And so anyways, me and my brother get down. We don't really know what to expect. And we play teams. We win the die roll the first round, and I'm able to get the Ashkelon turn 1. I'm able to get it down turn 1 and make each opponent discard 4 cards. And at that point, the game was basically over, I feel like. And so yeah, we won the first game. In the second match, the second round, I think I don't remember if we won or lost the die roll, but I was able to do it again. I was able to get Ashkelon off on turn 1 again. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I forget exactly how many rounds we did, but I think we did 4 rounds of teams, and I was able to get Ashkelon do the combo on turn 1, 3 out of 4 of the games. So I don't know if I got lucky or just how things went, but that definitely helped us. And we were playing against Chad. He see the tree and his opponent, and he actually kind of was sniffing out what I was doing. But a critical mistake he made was, even though he knew I was doing Ashkelon, he kind of kept a lot of cards in his hand. And so he went first, he did his thing, passed a turn to me, and then I kind of popped off, made him discard a bunch of cards. And he discarded like his Nero. He discarded his like blockers, and that was just brutal. He was just like kicking himself after the game from that. So I think we were at 3-0 at that point, going to the final round. Whoever won that round would win teams. And we got paired against Tyler and his opponent, which I'm kicking myself to remember his name, but he's such a nice guy. Tyler talks, and we'll have to insert the name after this. Anyways, And that was the game where I did not get Ashkelon off on turn 1. And that was like, it made things super interesting. Let's just say it was one of the best games of Redemption I've had in a long time. What made it so interesting, Tyler was running Soulhide. And so me and my brother were trying to set up Ashkelon, trying to do our thing. And Tyler was like underdecking souls a lot, which made it difficult to get to all the souls we needed. Turn 1 was interesting. I had a really strong attack. I was like banding Jacob to Patriarch, or like Abraham to Jacob. I was attacking Tyler with everything I had because I wasn't doing Ashkelon. And Tyler made a really strong block. Basically, he had a bunch of Sadducees banded into battle. And it came down to this big battle by the numbers where I lost the battle by 1 point and I lost my entire offense on the first turn of the game. I was like, wow, this isn't off to a good start. But eventually we're able to get Ashkelon back online and start making them discard their cards. And so even though they had a Matthew out, which drew them cards, they had to discard everything. And it was getting to the point where we're starting to walk in and get lost souls. And that's when the Soul Hide came. So even though they were down on resources, they had the ways to keep us from winning because they had the Soul Hide. And our decks just lacked the tools. Like my deck, pretty much after the first turn of the game, its sole purpose was to just keep Ashkelon online. And Tyler did have a Three Woes to stop it at 1 point, but we figured out a way to get rid of it and then kept doing Ashkelon. And so I was just doing multiple rounds around the table. Super good game. Trying to remember all the triggers. We had a Damascus out and they were searching and we were just like drawing cards off Damascus. We were like maxing out Damascus to the 4 trigger thing every turn, which is nice. It kept us ahead. But whenever it came to my turn, I couldn't attack. I had no heroes. The heroes I did have, I captured to myself, or they were already discarded by Tyler. And it gets down to the last round of the game, and it's coming to the point where like it's either going to be a tie or it's looking like it's going to be a tie. I have a Son of God in my hand, but I also have a Mayhem in my hand, and the opponents have no lost souls out. And the idea is, if me and my brother can rescue a lost soul and I can play Son of God, then we win the game. But I can't play Son of God right now because there's no lost souls in play. So I look at my brother and said, should we Mayhem? I didn't want to Mayhem because at this point in the game, opponents have 0 cards in their hand. And so this is risky proposition. Like, do I play Mayhem, shuffle away my Son of God, but also give them the chance to draw lost souls? Or do we just like accept the tie and have it come down to soul differential, which was scary. And me and my brother were like, we didn't come all this way here to just tie. You know, we came here to win. So I fired off the Mayhem. They only drew a couple lost souls. I couldn't do anything. I didn't draw my Son of God. And it came down to my brother. He attacked. Tyler was able to fend him off with some underdecking of the lost souls. There was this big battle. Andy was trying to capture his Sadducees to his land of bondage using a Jacob card. Yeah, the Joseph before Pharaoh can negate underdeck if it's a human, negate and capture it to its owner's land of bondage. So he was trying to sneak this in there, get a lost soul, but ultimately Ty was able to stop us, and it became a tie. We tied at the end of the game. I think it was like 3-3 or 4-4 or something like that. And so it did come down to soul differential, and me and my brother, we won. We did it. It was by 1 point, I feel like. So well played to Tyler. That was such a fun match. And so yeah, first place, me and my brother both got first place at the teams event, which was really nice, using this Ashkelon deck. And in between rounds, I had barely any time to like re-sleeve into the deck I was going to be running for the tournament, because there's so much overlap between the cards we were using for our team's deck and then the cards I was using for my type 1 deck. It was just like this frantic, like I can't even catch a breath. I just have to start sleeving. I can't use the bathroom or anything. I just gotta keep going. And here's the deck I ultimately settled on for the regionals type 1. I'm gonna release a video of gameplay of this deck in action at the last round of Lackey Grand Prix. I've been trying to play Daniel decks and trying to find the right mix. Trying to innovate, trying to see how I can make Daniel decks better. So Daniel, he's a really strong attacker. Negates fortresses, evil characters, New Testament enhancements. Bans to a Daniel hero, cannot be negated. You know, super strong hero. Pairing that with his buddies Meshach, prevent the next enhancement except a Daniel, draw 1, who can ban to Shadrach, protect Daniel from discard abilities, ban to Daniel human. that's a really strong attack. And the icing on the cake is Daniel banding to Michael. Will says, while you control no human heroes, except Daniel humans toss all multi-brigade evil enhancements. So like that all together makes it really hard attack for the opponent to even block. There are answers out there for this attack, like Goliath, like Reap the Whirlwind. There are answers to this, but they're very few. Opponents have to kind of be prepared for that. Most of the answers people are playing, like Scattered Sheep or Scattered, these are multi-brigades, so Michael's just going to toss these and it's not going to do anything, right? The reason I picked Daniel is most decks are running black and gray, so they're always running Tenants Kill the Son, running Stricken, running Scattered Sheep. And so when you're attacking with Michael, the opponent's defense usually crumbles pretty easily if they're running gray or black and gray. Once you get rid of Goliath, then things become a lot easier. And so anyways, I'm playing this Daniel deck, and I'm trying to just consolidate the cards into, okay, I only want to play the cards I need. I'm not going to play the extra, I actually didn't include Shadrach, Meshach. I didn't include Abednego. Like, no Abednego, get him out of here. We don't need him. If I'm banding Shadrach into Meshach, into Daniel, into Michael, like, I don't need Abednego, He's just redundant. It's just a wasted card that I could be using for something else. And same thing, like, I don't need Captain of Host. I don't need Michael to ban a Captain of Host. Like, everything that I'm doing is already good enough. I don't need to ban to Angel of Jerusalem. I don't need to ban to anybody. Like, the heroes here, this is enough, in my opinion. You don't need to run any other heroes. But the problem is when your offense is this low, like, it's going to be hard to consistently start attacking strong. You need ways to actually get these heroes all together. And Daniel by itself doesn't do that. Daniel's good at attacking, he's good at drawing cards. And so that's where the cards like Divining Damsel come in, Lying Prophet, Herdsmen of Gerar. The key is having your defense draw cards. At least that's one way to go about it. And the Daniel decks out there right now seem to be on the consensus that running demons is the best way to run Daniel. But I disagree. I feel like the choke seed combo with the accumulator, like, I don't feel like that's consistent enough to do what you want to do. I feel like it's high risk, high reward type of thing for the accumulator. I feel like there's better ways to draw cards when you're playing defense. And I don't really like orange as a defense. I feel like people are equipped to deal with those demons and you don't have strong blocks. But so this defense right here is the defense from the Guardians Goldeneye deck. And this defense is all about getting to its Lying Prophet, Divining Damsel, Herdsman as great blocks on turn one. So it's like redundancy with Amalekites Slave, with Deceiver, with Darkness. There's a good chance you can get a good block off. And you're drawing a bunch of cards, and you have a lot of ways to actually deal with opponent's blocks. Individually, Divining Damsel, terrible block by itself. Herdsman, not the strongest block as far as like ability to win the battle. But when you pair those cards with Murderous Command and then Warrior Overtaken, starts to become a whole other ball game. Opponent uses their battle winner. Okay, you lose your Divining Damsel or whatever, but then it's time for round 2 to start. And if you're outing cards that even draw more cards to battle, you're just gaining such an advantage. And you're mostly able to outmuscle them with your enhancements that you draw. So we're running Satan's Seat to make sure they don't have hand protection, which will get in the way of Lying Prophet and Divining Damsel. In the Guardians list, he was playing 57 cards, which allowed him to play an extra dominant called Shipwreck, which will negate fortresses. I was worried about Storehouse being a thing, and I was like really wanting to run I really wanted to run Shipwreck, but didn't have the dominant slots. And so I used Satan's Seat, even though there is some tension here. Yeah, I'm running my own Storehouse. I'm going to be negating my own protection abilities, but I'd rather have the ability to take out their hand than protect mine. This card also shuts off Faith Unbowed, which is a really good way for Daniel to get a free lost soul if you play this before combat. But honestly, I feel like Satan's Seat can work in Daniel decks, mostly because you can attack, and then you do Daniel, which will negate fortresses. And then after you've negated fortresses, you can ban your Servants by the River, which gets that crucial protect lost souls in Daniel Humans heroes from evil characters that you want. Another thing that I did differently with Daniel is I took out all these enhancements that would like negate the last evil enhancement played. Like, those cards are nice to have, but I reasoned like I can do better. What's better than negating the last card they play in battle? Well, how about getting rid of that card before they even have the chance to play it? A lot of times people who are able to block your Daniel stuff, it's with CB and stuff, or it's with Goliath. And so you're going to have all these cards in your hand that are useless that you can't really play. or you're gonna be attacking them, getting lost souls, and they're not even gonna be blocking you. So and you start sitting there and you think, why am I playing all these negate the last evil enhancement cards? You know, I feel like in Daniel, the strongest thing you can do is play the first sacrifice off your Daniel and underdeck an evil card from your opponent's hand before battle. Not only does this assure you of your success in battle, you can check it's like, hey, do they have any ways to block Daniel? This catches the opponent off surprise and gets rid of some of the most problematic cards that Daniel has to face that they can't deal with otherwise in a proactive way. You can also leverage the hand information you get here to make great blocks on your next turn. You know, I could go on and on and on about why you should run the first sacrifice in your Daniel deck. Take out the negates, take out your swift beings. Sorry, Daniel players, but it's time to start running the first sacrifice, in my opinion. I know you can only run it off your Daniel, but your deck's all about getting to Daniel consistently, so I mean, that's just my opinion. Also, another change I made was taking out the Complacent Lost Soul, which restricts dominance during Dom phase, and started playing Angel of the Lord, started running the new Glory of the Lord. This isn't the new Glory of the Lord, it's just a proxy because Lackey is kind of behind right now with the updates, but hopefully we'll get that in. But I'm not going to go over exactly what the new Glory does, but let's just say if you have Angel of the Lord, you play it, you kill their blocker, great, free Lost Soul. And if you play the new Glory of the Lord, you play it, they try to block you. Most of the time, they can't do anything. You get another Lost Soul. So that's like 2 free souls. And then Faith Unbowed, you play this before combat, you attack with everybody, you get a free Lost Soul. So that's like 3 Lost Souls for free, and then 4 or 5, boom, Son of God, Second Coming. I like Glory better than Buckler because not only can it help you on defense in a pinch, like pairing Glory of the Lord with Goliath, Glory of the Lord with Outsiders is really great, but just doing with Daniel is really nice too. Because a lot of times people are going to be like trying to do Saul of Tarsus, grab unsuccessful, play that, try to sneak a block in. But if they go Saul of Tarsus and you play Glory of the Lord, they're just stuck. They can't play their unsuccessful and they have to die. So given how popular Saul of Tarsus and Goliath is, I reasoned Angel of the Lord and Glory of the Lord would be the best ways to deal with him, not Buckler. Because the worst thing in the world is playing Buckler, giving your guys protection, attacking, and they just do like Saul of Tarsus, you know, unsuccessful you, and you're just like, great, okay. Or Herod Antipas, Feudal Inquisition, you know. Angel of the Lord and Glory of the Lord are really good against those lines of play. Okay, I'm gonna keep talking here. The Captured Ark I added because I was worried about Honeypot. If the deck has a pot of mana up, I'm pretty weak to that. So Captured Ark was a way to hedge against that, and also the Cross, because I'm starting to play so many battle-winning dominance. I don't want the Cross being in play. Stocks is there. If you're a Daniel deck not running Stocks, like I don't know how you're gonna deal with Goliath. Sure, you can try to discard him, but they have so many ways to get back Goliath, but like Philistine Armor Bearer, Philistine Garrison. Stocks is just the best way to take Goliath out once and for all. And then I have a Book of the Covenant package that I trimmed down on. I used to run Covenant of Prayer and get Everlasting Beings so I could resurrect Michael if he died. But in all the matches I was playing with Daniel, that never happened. That never really came up. If Michael did die, you could use Daniel's Prayer to get him back. But yeah, that seemed to be enough whenever people would always take out Daniel first. So here's my reserve package that I used. Book of the Covenant could grab this, which resurrects my Daniel heroes that die. And if people do play Stocks to try and capture Michael or Daniel, I can use I Am Redemption to get them back. The only good enhancement I'm using off of Storehouse is Coming Prince. It is nice to have a card that can negate evil cards in battle. Herod Antipas is a problem, I will admit. Not Herod Antipas, Herod Agrippa the First. And so this card's a nice out to that. And it can also top deck your first sacrifice too. It's nice to go first sacrifice, and then attack, play Coming Prince, top deck first sacrifice. So you're setting yourself up for a great attack next turn, that as well. Put Goliath in the reserve. I think in retrospect, I should have put him in the main deck, took out Blood Avenger, put Goliath in the main deck. Goliath is probably the MVP of the tournament for me. This card is amazing. He does have a little bit of anti-synergy. If you like try to draw a bunch of cards and you play Goliath, he's going to negate all your card draws, so watch out for that. But this card is just such a strong character. Well, he won me a lot of blocks just because he put everybody out of battle, and then opponents didn't have anybody left to attack with, so that was nice. Bringing Fear is really solid. You can grab this off your storehouse. You can grab this off your herdsman. Like herdsman and Bringing Fear is pretty strong play. Commander Fikel, I decided to add this guy because I could use Murderous command to get him and add him to battle, which can negate a good card. So it's like a negate on a stick almost. So not only can he negate something that they're using to try and push me out of battle, I can equip something from reserve. And so I can like equip a Goliath Spear to start stabbing somebody, put them in special initiative right away, or spears to really take out something in their territory. Or just if I wanted to draw cards or stuff like that. And having access to Foreign Wives is pretty nice too for the Murderous command. Anyways, I'm running out of voice right now. That's all I wanted to touch on for the deck. That's my deck building decisions. I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about is the Lost Souls. If they're playing Humble, that is a problem. And so this deck is designed to try and get rid of their Humble Lost Soul. So they're playing Covet. If I get Covet down before they get their Humble, I can go steal their Humble from their deck. Or if they get their Humble out, I can use my Wanderer to try and exchange and make it so they don't have Humble during the battle when it matters the most. For Soul'jin, I'm running Lost Souls, I'm running Hopper, and having Covet is really nice too. I'm not sold on Grumbled being a good Lost Soul for this deck. It's okay. Having that underdeck draw card is nice because a lot of the cards on turn 1 aren't that great, like Book of the Covenant, like, Captured Ark, stocks aren't good if you're going first. So anyways, so type 1 starts, and I start marching through the rounds. Things are going great. I'm undefeated, and then I'm paired against See the Tree, aka Chad, and that's when I just hit a brick wall. He's playing a Soul Surfer deck, and he gets out a Lost Soul that negates Old Testament humans in battle. And he does this very intentionally. He knows I'm trying to play Herdsman to try and draw cards off his Matthew, and he's able to leverage that Accusers to make me fall behind on cards while he goes ahead. And it's a really brutal game for me. Like, he has a turn 1 Matthew, he attacks, draws a bunch of cards. I have Herdsman in my hand, but I can't block Matthew because this guy's just getting negated. I'm able to drop the storehouse down, but he has a way to bounce his Matthew and also bounce my storehouse, which is so brutal. He attacks with Matthew, draws more cards again. I didn't draw a single dominant the entire game. Like, I'll take that back. I drew 3 woes on the last turn of the game, but by that point it was too late. The cards I was needing to try and win the game were not drawn. I made a couple misplays. I made some weak blocks. I just hit a wall there. And my offense couldn't break through his Herods. He had Herod Agrippa out. I didn't draw my ways like Angel, Glory, or Stocks. I didn't draw any of my outs to Herod Agrippa. And I just got stonewalled. And I lost pretty convincingly. I lost 5-0 to Chad. And it was just like, it was really like it was a check. It was like a reality check, I guess. I'm interested to see, like, if we were to play again, what would happen. I feel like this deck is capable of beating Matthew, it's capable of beating Soulhide, but it just has to come my way. Like, if I had a Son of God to negate his Accusers, or he didn't have a way to get Accusers out turn 1, like, I have no doubt that I could have done really well in that game. If I'd been able to draw a single Murderous commander where we're overtaken, I feel really confident in my ability to actually use these cards to help me turn around the game. But, that's just how it happens sometimes. I lost 5-0. There was one more round after that. I won that round. And the way things worked out, I got second place in the tournament. So my only loss was to Chad, and was a 5-0. So, man, I'm getting real tired of talking here. Okay, I'm going to try to wrap this up. So the next day, we ended up going to this public library space. It had a nice place to set up tables. We did a nice booster draft, Israel's Rebellion. I was doing great. I was crushing it. I drafted a nice brown/white wilderness deck. And I come up against Tyler Talks in the final round. Or sorry, the second to last round. We're both undefeated. And I just start off the game by making some pretty aggressive plays. He's soul droughting me. I went in because of my own Nazareth. And I get kind of like a little frazzled. Things are looking really bad for me, but I drafted 2 Blood Avengers, which allowed me to actually get some cheesy blocks off against him. The game ended, he won 5-4. But it was another moment where I get matched up against one of these top tier players, and I'm just hitting a wall where I'm making mistakes. getting frazzled, and ultimately the better player won the match. So uh, I definitely had a chance to win. I definitely think I could have won if I played maybe a little bit differently. But that's how it is sometimes. It's good to hit these walls. It's good to encounter the areas that I need to grow in. And so I was forgetting so many triggers, like those upkeep triggers. I had Nazareth out, and I forgot about it when I was trying to block and try to search my deck. And there's no take backsies here, so you make the mistake. You say, "Oops," put your guys in the discard pile, give the opponent a lost soul, and you move on with your life. You just try to learn. And so ultimately, I ended up in the booster draft placing fourth. My brother got second, so I'm really proud of him. So congratulations, brother, on getting second in booster draft. And so yeah, just to recap, final standings for me, I got first place in teams, second place in Type 1-2 player, and fourth place in booster. So definitely not a bad showing for my first tournament, like in-person tournament. I've done some lackey stuff, but actually getting to shuffle the cards, getting to talk to people, connect to people. I had a blast. I'm really grateful to get the placings that I did. It's easy just to focus on the things that went wrong, like the match against Chad, the match against Tyler. And it's easy to lose track of just like my progress and my story and all the good. It's easy to even forget about the team's victory that happened earlier in the day. So kind of taking a step back, looking at all this in context, I have a lot to be proud of and a lot to be thankful for. So I'm grateful for all the opponents that I got to play against. You guys were awesome. Thank you for being such great opponents and great sports about everything. Thank you for Chad and Tyler for beating me and teaching me some lessons, some good lessons that I'm going to hopefully try to learn and apply moving forward here. I just have a few more thoughts before I sign off here on this looking to be an hour-long video. After the tournament was over, me and some of the guys there at the tournament were talking about this concept of the double-edged sword of redemption. The icon of redemption, the back of it's this double-edged sword. I think that's kind of a perfect metaphor for how the game feels sometimes. On one hand, it is immensely complex and deep, and that adds some intrigue, that makes the game interesting. But the double-sided sword of that is it's really complex and hard to learn and the learning curve is really steep. And so once you get past this giant learning curve, it's a fun game. It's interesting. But to get to that point, it's like really toilsome. I was experiencing that with my brother, which I'll probably have in another video later and kind of talk about that more in depth. But there were so many edge cases, so many gotchas with the rules that weren't very intuitive that made it really difficult for him. It made it really difficult for the newer players. So if I could sum up the double-edged concept here that I'm trying to verbalize was Redemption's like a really interesting game, but perhaps it's interesting because it's like a little bit too complex. That complexity is hard to learn, hard to master, hard to get through. So that's the double-edged sword of Redemption. I wish there was a way to perhaps preserve the depth and the strategy of Redemption and also make it more approachable. And I feel like that's what the Elder team is doing. They're moving in that direction. They're trying to simplify things. They're trying to make it more easy to learn, easy to pick up. Because ironically, like if when I'm talking to my friends about Redemption, my YouTube channel, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds interesting. I should learn how to play one day." There's almost a part of me that's kind of like, I don't know, because I know how hard it is. I've been spending the last 4 months of my life almost devoted to learning Redemption, and even I hit a walls with this game. Like I've asked so many questions about the rules to try and understand, and even after asking, like I feel like I haven't arrived yet at a full comprehensive understanding of the game and its rules and stuff. It's just when somebody new asks me how to play Redemption, I'm just like, where do I start? How do I start? The starter decks are a great spot, but even then, it's just playing a full game with the starter decks takes like an hour and 20 minutes. It's just like, oh gosh. So that's the double-edged sword of Redemption that I wanted to touch on. The next thought I want to touch on is breaking through barriers. So for me, the barriers were like getting to those pro players and fighting them and losing to them. The mistakes I was making in those games at the moment. I've made those mistakes before in my Lackey Grand Prix matches, and it's okay in my mind. This is how I'm framing it. It's like it's okay to make a mistake and learn from that. Great, but here I'm starting to encounter scenarios where I'm making the same mistake over and over and over and over again, and it feels like I'm hitting a wall of my own mental capacity. Like I know what Nazareth does. I'm aware of what it does. I've made a mistake to like try and shuffle my deck, search my deck with Mount Nazareth before. So why am I still making those same mistakes? You know, like why am I still making that mistake? And that's such an interesting question to think about. Like, how come some mistakes we make and we immediately learn from those and never do those mistakes again? And how come we repeat some different other mistakes? And honestly, I have no idea. So what I'm trying to do is like I'm trying to identify the mistakes that I'm making and also figure out how can I get out of this habit, this bad rut that I'm in with these mistakes. And so my brother, I was talking to him about this on the car ride home. He suggested, okay, for maybe like these upkeep triggers that you're missing, maybe place like little tokens, like physical reminders. And maybe for the Nazareth thing, maybe 3D print some like little shield protection icons and place them on your reserve, place them on your deck as physical reminders of what's happening in the game. Because Redemption has a lot of these effects that aren't fully transparent going on. And it's easy to lose track of what's happening. It's easy to just focus on your game plan and lose sight of all the different interactions happening. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to touch on was Ashkelon and as far as the team's capacity. Like I feel like this was the next step for Ashkelon to take. I feel like it still has a lot to go. It feels like the deck and the concept itself has a lot more maturing to do and a lot more growing it can do. Like the deck me and my brother built were very like rough, I would say. I was talking to Tyler and he was saying he had some ideas for better offense to pair with it than the Patriarchs. And I feel like if you know if Nationals was tomorrow and the team who innovated and built like two really good Ashkelon decks, they would I feel like they would be able to take down teams pretty easily with the strategy. So I'm personally interested to see where Ashkelon goes from here. I don't think I have the innovation or capacity to take this to the next level. I'm proud of what I was able to cobble together with my brother, but I feel like the stronger deck builders have room to innovate here. And so yeah, there it is. My Northwest Regionals recap. My voice is almost gone. I've been talking for like the last past, I don't know, 3 days straight. Talking on the car ride, talking at the tournament, talking when I get home, talking on the video. So I'm ready to take a break from talking and hopefully I'll start uploading some more gameplay videos soon. I want to start doing more videos where I'm actually going over the games in retrospect and talking through it because ultimately I feel like those are the most helpful videos for people who are wanting to learn redemption and get and improve at the game. Just hearing me talk about my mistakes that I'm making and why I'm doing what I'm doing is so valuable to people. I also wanted to thank everyone at the tournament. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Godspeed77, for being such great hosts. Thank you for my brother for driving me and supporting me. And thank you for all you guys for wanting to watch and listen to me talk about this. Believe it or not, I'm heading to another tournament next week. I'm actually flying to Arkansas. I have some friends there. And this next weekend, is going to be the Arkansas State Championship. So this was just part one, part two tournaments that are going to be happening for me in real life. And so I'm expecting my video schedule to be a little bit sporadic because I'm just here recording on my laptop. I don't have my professional setup, so to say. And I'm just trying to enjoy the time I have here with family and friends. So that's the reason why there hasn't been as many videos. I hope you understand that. Forgive me for not satisfying the content algorithm needs. Anyways, logging off for the night. See you around. Bye bye.